Yo, guys, welcome back to another episode of Marijuana SA Weekly. And today we are giving you some more flowering tips. We obviously, the show, the YouTube show and grow store that's providing content around the world and obviously supplying some grow store, grow equipment here in SA. We appreciate the support over the store over the last few weeks. It's been amazing. Today we've got Damien from Umya. He's coming on to talk to us about one of their products, the pot Flora, if I'm not mistaken, indeed. And he's going to give us a little bit of explanation. Dean, what do you expect to hear today? Or what do you expect to find out or learn?
Some tips related to the product, what the product is, what it does, what it was made for, maybe if it's what its commercial applications could be, and just some tips for the home grower as to what they could use this product for and how to use it, and maybe some dosing as well.
We're going to jump straight in and fire off with Dean's going to jump straight in and fire off with some, I suppose there's some questions, right?
Yeah, I think we can open up with what is pot Flora?
Simple answer is it's the flowering pot to our base nutrient range. So as we've previously discussed, we've looked at the pot radix and the pot grow, and along comes the pot Flora to finish off the base range of powders that we have. So when we originally looked at how can we simplify feeding, we looked at 3 stages, which was root, shoot, and fruit. And obviously the fruit encompasses flowering, which is the season that we're heading into right now. So yeah, pot Flora is for that.
Okay, and for our listeners, how would one in the home grow space go about utilizing the product? What kind of dosing are we looking at? And when would you suggest it starts to be used? When you first see your first pistils, or when? But sort of dosing it, I think, is always an important point. How do you use the product?
Sure. So things to sort of consider is obviously your plant's growth rates and their transition into the flowering phase, right? So typically the first sort of 2 weeks, there's still that really rapid vegetative growth. The plants are stretching quite a bit. And so what we suggest is a gradual transition from pot grow onto pot Flora. Reason being that the pot Flora drastically drops the amount of nitrogen. So if you do have plants, particularly your sativa dominant strains that love to stretch quite a bit, they could run short of nitrogen early on in flower. So from about the end of week 1 into week 2, you can then start fully transitioning over onto the pot Flora and then use it to the end of the cycle. And then as for dosage, you're looking at 1 gram to 1 liter of water. Mix that up and apply. And each time that you apply, we sort of suggest going on a once a week application where you're saturating the pot through. And yeah, that should suffice.
It's 1 gram per liter. So once again, it's going to go a long way. You're going to get 500 liters from or more if you're sort of dosing a little bit less, like some people do. So the product once again does really go a long way. And yeah, I also really liked your point, Damien, on not cutting the nitrogen too quickly, because when those plants are going through that stretch stage, you're wanting to maximize it as much as possible. Because I mean, I've seen plants triple in size during that stage. So I also really like the gradual change over for the product.
Sure. So I mean, Dean, I like to think of it very similar to the way that I eat. And if you're used to a certain diet, making a very quick, rapid changeover, you're going to feel the consequences. And your plants are very, very similar to that. So that switch over from your veg pot grow onto pot Flora, if you can keep that as smooth as possible, the plants are just going to take to it a little bit better.
Yeah, I personally will lessen the grams of the pot grow slowly while slowly increasing. So at one point, both are getting used in conjunction, and then I'll swap out just to make sure that I'm getting the maximum from my stretch stage, and then obviously that smooth transition. Plants don't like Damien said, they don't like you to jump around. Stability is everything.
Yeah, same with everything, lighting, watering, all of those sort of things. The plants are, more finicky than ever.
And yeah,
I'm curious about its commercial application. Is it just home grow based, or is it also has it got the ability to sort of scale up to the industrial clients that we work with?
Sure. So for the industrial clients on commercial scales, yes, the quantities and the dosing would remain the same. I mean, we'd be checking ECs and ppms that are going in, and the quantities are available for that.
And a little bit on the EC, it's something that sort of not maybe all growers are checking, sort of unless what kind of EC are we looking at with if people are going to be testing their EC? What kind of EC do you suggest through the different stages?
So you can sort of push this to about as far as 2.6 EC. We like to keep it at that 2 EC range. It's just to avoid any sort of heavy buildup that you may get. And usually we find issues that arise in that sort of week 4, week 5, where that rapid growth has slowed down. You've got your bud sites that have developed, and it's at that point that the flowers start to stack on. And occasionally, you see things just almost come to a grinding halt. And if you're pushing in really high ECs at that point, you could end up with lockouts occurring. So we try and keep it at a 2 EC. Things to just keep in mind with our products is that occasionally the EC readings may be slightly out. So we suggest looking at your ppm readings. The carbon does have a tendency to hide certain electrical conductivity. So we suggest checking, if you can, ppm as well, and that will give you a much more accurate sort of idea of what you're feeding.
And for our listeners who don't know, ppm is basically the total amount of dissolved solids in the liquid. So it gives you a different reading, and it gives you a little bit more control over your dosing. And I suppose for those who are more experienced with the product, they might, and who are experienced with their space and have it dialed in, they might push it higher. But as Damien says often, and as we like to say, if you're not sure, rather do less first to just ease your plants into it. Once it's in, it can't come out. You
could try.
Like smoking too much weed. And Damien, just any other tips that you might have for the listeners who are going into the flowering season with relation to the product?
Sure. So things that we sort of discussed aside was some flowering tips, and something to just perhaps be aware of with pot Flora is that the sugar content within the product is increased quite substantially compared to the likes of the pot grow and pot radix, and really for guys who enjoy adding that extra bit of molasses in flowering, keeping in mind that the product has also got additional complex sugars within it. So yes, if you want to add your extra molasses, you've got that additional support from the product in there as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But maybe less molasses compared to usual then, because you do have the sugars available, and it might just be wasted then otherwise.
So flowering savings, I suppose you could be saving on your molasses that you are adding in. But the product covers that for obvious reasons in that late part of flowering.
Brilliant. All right. Damon, it was a very short and sweet episode today. I'd like to once again extend a thanks for coming on and sharing your knowledge. And then we know for a fact it won't be the last time we see you on the show. It's always a pleasure. And thank you very much for joining us today.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it.
There you heard it from the expert himself. We love the Umya range. It was sort of like one of the first like up and coming local nutrients. We love to push our local stuff. We get a little bit angsty when we're importing, expensive, heavy, like liter-based biobus stuff from overseas. Sure, it's got to be done. We can't avoid it. Biobus and those other sort of brands are still very good nutrients. but it's nice to see the local guys picking up. And if the industry kicks off, maybe, you know, the locals will start exporting, and we can work off our, you know, our agricultural powerhouse as a whole.
And it's carbon based, the nutrient set, and which makes it very unique. You know, so there's also that aspect. There's not a lot of people doing the carbon based, so it's very cool to see. And once again, the affordability of the products for me is a big plus side of the Umya range. You get good results for a good amount of money.
All right, guys, that was our episode up, and we are looking forward very much to seeing you guys next week. Make sure to like and subscribe, and till then, peace, guys.
Peace.